Hello, everyone. I'm Emmett,
And I'm JJ.
and this is the Creativity Crew. Ba ba da ba. On today's episode, episode 2, we do have a topic we want to discuss about big and small creators on Tumblr. But first, let's do some small talk. Talk about our days, because we actually haven't been together most of the day.
Yeah.
I have a lot to say, just as a warning.
I slept until 1 o'clock.
Oh, yeah.
And then I was just so out of it, I asked you to do the grocery shopping.
Which worked out well.
Mm-hmm. And then I just sat with Peggy on the couch until you came back.
Were you scrolling TikTok?
Yeah, I was scrolling on TikTok.
I'm really shocked your phone actually let me call you.
Genuinely, me too.
Yeah.
Like, multiple times.
Yeah, no, it was great. For some reason, I think maybe when I put it on speaker right away, it just doesn't let me call you. But if I don't have it on speaker, then it seems to be doing a lot better. But yeah, so I've honestly just been running errands most of the day. I went to the Dollar Tree to pick up some shit. Nothing happened in the parking lot.
Yeah, no crashing planes this time.
Yeah, no, which can confirm now that we looked it up. It was an emergency plane landing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say where because that would out our location, but
not gonna dox ourselves.
Exactly, no doxing here. But yeah, so I've mostly just been running errands today. I've been trying to adult while also doing the exact opposite. Because what I'm finding is there are all these things that I've always been tolerant of other people doing.
Mm-hmm.
I've always, been tolerant of. Oh, great.
Yeah.
I've always been tolerant of people who age regress or littles systems. People who are witches and witchcraft, magic, whatever. I've always been tolerant of it, but I've always had that programmed conditioning of well, that's not me.
Mm-hmm.
That just couldn't be me. I'm not like that. And now I'm discovering very much that I am like that, and it's pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm at least in a safe space to do it with you and Di, and everyone on my blog has been really supportive and understanding, which is awesome. Because I always have the fear I'm gonna get an ass that's just why are you posting about this? Why you're not whatever. The imaginary critics in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so my day has mostly just been running errands and mourning childhood.
God. Yeah, mine was weird nightmares and my computer trying to brick itself and scrolling on TikTok.
I don't know what's going on with your computer, but
no, it keeps trying to die. It's straight up. It's trying to kill itself.
Well, until you get another job, we can't let that happen. Gotta hang in there, Lenovo.
Yeah.
That sucks. I see you've had the weird nightmares this time. Well, you always have nightmares, to be fair.
Yeah. More so because of a conversation we had yesterday, and I was remembering something. So.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Something private?
Yeah.
Okay.
Gotcha. That's why I'm.
Gotcha. So, yeah, I think that was basically it. What the fuck else did I do today? I don't think I did anything else.
You took Peggy out.
I took Peggy out. Every single time I've taken Peggy out today, something has happened. Not anything major. Mm-hmm. But, when I was going out this morning, I was trying very hard to be, present in the moment. I was observing nature. I was especially looking at the trees and the bushes and the leaves and how they're always moving. Even if it's just the slightest shaking, they're always moving. They're never still. Even though, because we filter that stuff out in the background, we think it's still. But they're always moving, and they're so full of life. And I was looking at that, and I was admiring it, and I was trying to be grounded in the moment. And then this fucking old woman has the audacity to step out of her house. And for whatever reason, the last old woman that we interacted with, Peggy, was totally fine. But this one was just not. Like,
she did not pass the vibe check.
She did not pass the vibe check. I don't know if it's because she had a cane or because her hair was short, but, like, Peggy just started barking at her, and she would not stop.
I do wonder if she has a thing against canes, because I've noticed, like, she doesn't really like my cane.
Yeah, I think it's like I think it's like a threat thing for her. Like, because I know when I had crutches, she was like scared of those. Like, she would like run away from those.
That's fair.
So I think she perceives them as a threat. But like, and of course she's at a point where it's a bit more familiar with you. But I guess if it's, you know, an old person that she doesn't know. And the thing is, she didn't even like turn around and start walking with me when I was like, come on, Peggy, we gotta like turn around now. Yeah. She literally kept like turning back around and trying to get at her. Yeah. So I had to pick her up and like waddle with her in between my legs until we got far enough. So it's like, it's just been that kind of day where it's like whenever you try to kind of like find that inner peace, you know, you can't. Yeah. Like, even just, you know, going on our walk recently, we went out and there was, you know, this guy walking his dog, which I thought I missed the dog walking hour, but apparently not. So there was a guy walking the dog. We had to go the other way. And then there was a little girl playing. We had to go the other way. I'm like, oh my God.
I know she's been pretty good with me. The only time I've had her, like, super start reacting recently was this family was, like, sitting in their garage in, like, the lawn chairs, but they had their dog just out there with them, like, tied to one of their chairs, and he started reacting.
Tied to the chair?
Yeah, like, what? The leash was, like, on the chair.
I'm sorry, was it a tiny fucking chihuahua?
Like, half the size of Peggy. Not, like, a tiny chihuahua, but not, like, how Peggy is.
So as long as they were sitting on the chair.
Yeah, they were sitting on the chair. But I saw the dog first, and then I saw them. And I'm like, why is he just out there? I really hope he's on a leash. So I grab her, and I, like, walk with her past him. Because there's not really anywhere. There was somebody on the other side as well. And I'm like, we gotta go here. Man. So, but he started reacting first. But she was really good. She only barked a little bit.
That's good. I love that we're surrounded by dogs because I love dogs, but it really, really is inconvenient when your dog hates other dogs.
Yeah.
And people in general.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of, I think the only other thing I have to report is what I told you about Peggy earlier. So that's the only other thing about today.
The lethargy attack. Yeah, you know, for the people listening, we tried calling the vet yesterday, and I got told that I couldn't call right now and to call later, and it hung up on me. Like, they don't have a fucking inbox. So, obviously, you know, they're closed today, so I'm going to try tomorrow and put that on my list of shit to do while I'm on quote-unquote vacation. Because I have to take Peggy to the vet because she's having these lethargy, we don't know if they're seizures exactly, but we are suspecting it's seizures. So I have to do that. I still have to get my car headlight fixed because they said they would call me back.
That might be because of the auto workers strike.
Yeah, I was told it may be because of the strike. But, you know, what am I going to tell a cop? Like, I'm sorry, I can't get my car fixed. They're striking, like... So I need to at least make an effort to see if they have the part now. Because it's been a month. They haven't called me in a month. And then I need to get the car title transferred from my dad to myself since I officially bought the car. So we have to go to the DMV. And we all know how fun that is.
I will say, the one that we live right near is actually really nice.
Oh, that's good. He's probably going to want me to go to the one closest to him since I'm picking him up. But anyway, so there's quite a bit to do, but you know, that's how it is. Oh, and I need to get my flu shot. All right. Should we dive into it?
Sure.
So this was inspired by a lovely comment we got. I got it on my blog. I'm sure everyone knows this comment by now, but just in case, you know, there are some people who don't. There was this anon who said, what was the word? It was like...
It was like, wow, amazing. Another thing to exclude smaller wump creators.
Yeah, I think they even said,
like, the heart eyes emoji.
Yeah, it was like, thank you, another thing to exclude smaller wump creators, or something. Yeah. And then the fucking heart eyes emoji. Just like... I think some people shouldn't be allowed to use emojis personally, but that's just me. So this topic is inspired by that because, you know, we don't, well, I say we, but like, it's not that I feel a need to defend myself or anything, but just to kind of like explain, that episode wasn't scripted.
Yeah.
Like,
and also, like we both mentioned, the shout-outs and everything like that came specifically from like one or two questions towards the end. Everything else was mostly about our own art and our own inspirations.
Exactly. It wasn't meant to be a shout-out episode. It was a situation of, these are creators we really like, and, you know, they're coming up in conversation naturally.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you know, we want to credit everyone, so I go through and I credit, but, like, that's not scripted. If it's going to be an episode specifically highlighting smaller wump creators, then you can have that episode. But you can't get mad at someone for, like, someone actually, I think it was not a space alien or something like that, but someone in the replies was like, do they expect you to talk about things that you just don't know?
Yeah. Because
that's what it feels like. Like, you're getting mad at us for talking about shit we don't know.
Yeah.
And I know Di sent in a question that was like, you know, can we send you suggestions for wump creators to look at? Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Like, yes.
Please.
Please. If we have those creators and, you know, we message them and we ask them, like, is it okay if we review your work as long as we... Is she being goofy?
She's throwing a tantrum.
Oh, we're having baby rage.
We're having baby rage.
Oh, my goodness.
Sorry, Peggy's in the background doing her baby rage.
But if we are able to contact those creators and ask them, like, can we do a review that we are going to share publicly on a podcast, as long as we, you know, get your approval on the review first? Because I think, Peggy, what are you doing?
She's like nuzzling my mattress.
She's having a fit. Don't start eating the door.
You cannot bite the door.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway.
I think it's only fair, because this is what I would want. I think it's only fair that you write at the review first. At least, you know, get a structure going. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you're not just going to read something like word for word on the podcast. It's going to be, you know, a bit more natural. Mm-hmm. But you at least have an outline. And I think it's only fair that you show the person that you're reviewing that outline first. So if they do decide they don't want you to share it, then it's just for them. Yeah. But if they are okay with you sharing it, then you can do so. Because like I said in my response to Di, is that if I am doing a review, it is going to be honest. I'm going to talk about what I like and what I don't like. Mm-hmm. And not everyone wants that. And that's totally fine.
Yeah. And also you and I may have differing opinions. Because I know we're both very different people, and there are things that I like that you don't, and you don't that I do. Exactly.
So I think it would definitely make for an interesting episode, but that has to be planned.
Yeah. And again, like, explicit permission from the creator, because, yeah.
Right. I mean, I also, you know, I think it's weird to expect someone to, like, intentionally go out and try to find those small creators. And we're going to talk about why, because that's on the list. But, like, things that rub me the wrong way. And not to mention, if you have a complaint, be mature about it. You know, you don't have to be passive-aggressive. You don't have to be sarcastic. Just say your complaint, and we can talk about it then.
Yeah. Like, nothing makes me want to engage less than sarcasm and passive-aggressive. If you want to, like, open a discussion, I'm totally down for it. I love hearing about small creators. I love hearing about niche interests. I mean, I follow a tag that hasn't been updated since January.
I even mentioned a small creator. The first one fic that I got into, you know, I would say is maybe, I don't know if they're like the biggest creator. I'm just going based on like notes and stuff.
Yeah.
But I guess that was not enough.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Child.
If you damage my brand new space blanket. Okay, thank you. I was very bad at Aldi today. I got myself a quilt and pillowcase set that is space themed. So it's like this nice like cyan dark blue, and it has all these like stars and moons on top, and it's like it's kind of like like childish drawing almost, like scribbles. I love it. I can't wait to try it out. I'm a little worried about the texture, but we'll see. So yeah. So that is kind of going to be the comment basing the topic for this episode, which is mostly going to revolve around small and big creators on Tumblr specifically. Obviously, there's a lot of different platforms. Speaking for myself, I am mostly just on Tumblr. I do have TikTok, but I mostly use TikTok to consume other content. I don't make a lot of my own. And I don't like...
Most of what you do is Peggy.
Yeah, most of it's Peggy. There's been like some witch stuff, like witch talk stuff, but I really have not shown any of like my art, or definitely not my writing on there. So I'm mostly just on Tumblr. Obviously, I have like a Ko-fi and stuff, but that's all supplementary. And my pillow fort is for porn.
What chaos are you getting up to?
Peggy, baby, we're gonna take a break after an hour, okay? Can you just chill?
But, yeah.
Yeah, so talking about Tumblr specifically.
And I do want to, like, put it out there also. This is not meant to, like, come after anybody. This is just our own opinions.
Yeah, this is all opinions from people who have been on this platform for quite a while.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I don't even know, like, the first blog I made on Tumblr, I don't remember the year, but it actually was it? Because it actually was not the Angry Jerk and Straw Boy blog. I think I first made a blog on Tumblr. You know, I think it may have actually been back in junior high. Because I have a very distinct memory of when I was really getting into feminism. And I'll say it right now. Intersectional feminism did not exist at this point. Like, not to sound like a boomer, but it was not a thing at this point. And if it was not in my sphere. So I was getting into feminism because that's a unit we were doing in our English class. And I remember I was reading a book that was it by Virginia Woolf? Maybe it was. But basically, I made a Tumblr blog that was like, I forget what it was called. It was like Shades of Grey or something like that. But not like, you know, 50 Shades of Grey. Like gray feminism. It was basically supposed to be a more nuanced look. Because from what I was like reading, it felt a little too black and white to me. And I wanted there to be more of a gray perspective. Did absolutely nothing with that blog, by the way. I would say the first blog I would consider to be my first blog that I remember was my Homestuck blog. Because that one I did do stuff on, did get attention or engagement or whatever. Obviously, it's Homestuck. And then after the Homestuck one, I also had a Thorky blog.
We don't talk about that.
We don't talk about that.
We don't talk about that.
I mean, we do because, you know, we're not ashamed. We've learned. But so I would say the Homestuck was probably the first. And then I think the Thorky one was second. And then the Angry Jerk, I think, was the third one.
Okay.
And then the Angry Jerk one, I think, is when I only really started to kick off, not just because my art had improved a lot and because I was active in the Atla fandom. But I had a lot of mutuals that were like considered big creators. So that also boosted me. And then after that, I moved to the Dark Dwarf blog, which was the Markiplier fandom, Jacksepticeye, Egos, whatever.
Which is how I found you.
Exactly. So, little bit of a timeline. Just going to show that...
We've been here a while.
We've been here.
Yeah, because my timeline, I have a shit memory.
Me too, Bessie.
No, I know. But, I didn't make new blogs. I just renamed my blog a couple times.
See,
but
you know me and my 20 plus blogs I've had to prune.
Oh, I got there. It's just that first blog.
Yeah.
But I think I joined Tumblr, I want to say 2015, 2016.
Okay.
Maybe earlier. Because She Who Must Not Be Named, had me looking at Loki fan art and like fan comics and Supernatural fan art and fan comics that I got really engaged in.
Just to clarify real quick, that's not shading like a creator or anything. That's a
oh yeah, no, it's somebody from my past that I prefer not to talk about or mention. So,
that bitch.
That bitch. But yeah, no. So I joined Tumblr because it kept prompting me to sign in, and I'm like, well, fuck it. Fine, I'll join just so I can keep up with these comics because I thought the art was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And originally my main blog was called Burn Waffles. Then it was Jane Waffles.
Right. Yeah.
Then it was the Blue Jays World.
Okay.
And now that's still the main quote unquote main blog, but my actual main blog is now Blackberry Nightingale.
Right.
Because I wanted that fresh start.
Yeah. You have the same situation as me, where every time I like a post, it's from Angry Jerk and Strawboy, or when I follow someone, and for you, it's from the Blue Jays World.
Yeah. But I wanted that fresh start because people see the Blue Jays World, and at the time I made it, I was still going by Jay. And I'm like, oh yeah, I had a pretty cool pun, but it's like, I really don't like being called Jay anymore. So, Blackberry Nightingale.
Yeah, we gotta...
Still a bird pun.
Distance ourselves from that. I know, like, I definitely... I went from Dark Dwarf to Dark Dwarfy, but I knew when I wanted to make a new blog, I wanted to get away from that entirely. Even though Dark Dwarf is still an OC, I can't bring myself to change his name. I just think it's so him. It fits too well. But I definitely wanted to get away from that. And I was like, what do I do? Okay, my name and like a network, like, you know, like something bigger, intricate. Could have done verse, but I didn't think of that at the time. But I like it. Emmett.
Yeah.
It also has those T's.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Been here a while.
Yeah, disclaimer, just all of our opinions, no shade meant, unless we specify that shade is meant, because sometimes it's warranted, you know?
Yeah.
But that's probably going to be more so for me, because I've gotten a little petty over the years.
Knowing the history, you have a reason to be petty.
And that's the thing. Like, I think petty is a good placeholder word, but I don't think it's an accurate word.
Yeah.
I think maybe jaded is better.
Yeah, maybe cynical.
Cynical. Yeah. When you've just go through that shit so many times, it's hard not to be, and you feel like you need to be in order to protect yourself. And in some ways, yes. But anyways, that's getting ahead of myself. So I wrote out just a very brief list based on the post that I made saying that I was going to be bringing up this idea to JJ. So the first one I have on here is what we think constitutes, on Tumblr, a small and a big creator. Because those are very broad terms.
Okay. Do you want me to go first or you go first?
You can go first.
Okay. And just to clarify, Emmett's the one who thought up this idea, so he's going to be leading this one. I'm more so on the reactionary.
Yeah, I'm going to try not to dominate the conversation because I am very curious to hear what you have to say, but I have a lot of opinions.
honestly, I don't necessarily have a like checklist of qualifications or like specifications, but to me, somebody who is a bigger creator is someone who gets active engagement. So, for example, I would consider you a big or at least bigger creator because you have anons coming in, you have people interacting. Easily, some of your artwork gets like at least over 100 notes, at least.
Yeah, especially the Wump art.
Yeah. So I would consider that to be like a bigger creator. Somebody who doesn't necessarily get as much engagement, I would consider like smaller. I don't consider following as like a big or small type thing.
Yeah.
Especially since it's all anonymous.
Yeah.
Like you don't see how many followers a blog has.
You really can't go by follower account, especially when you consider all the reasons someone could be following. Like just aside from the fact that it could be a bot or whatever, you know, there are people who do follow backs, there are people who will just see one thing that they like, and that's one of the main, okay, it's not one of the main reasons, but it's definitely a reason that I fell out of doing fan works, is because every time I would do a fan work, people would follow because, you know, they see that and they go, oh, well, you're in this fandom and I like your work. So, and that's a totally valid reason to follow. But then they would realize that I post way more than just that.
And they'd be like, well, when is this coming back? What is this doing?
In a few cases, they would literally ask me, when is this coming back? So I definitely agree with you there. You can't go based off a follower count.
Yeah. So for me, it's more so based around interaction. Be that posts and like notes on a post, asks, replies, submissions, things like that. Like or like I can say like, oh yeah, PM Seymour. I can say one time I dreamt, and pretty much anyone who knows Tumblr knows those blogs. Those are big blogs.
Yeah.
So I would consider that as well, like a recognizability as well.
Yeah, like you can see the name and know right away.
Yeah, either like who they are or what content they post, or like have seen their stuff, like Pucky Cho and stuff like that.
I don't know Pucky Cho.
That's fair. they're more of a niche.
I think that's another problem with this criteria of small and big, is that, you know, on Tumblr especially, there are so many different communities and so many niches. Like, you can be a big creator in one community, but then be totally unknown in another. I think that's, you know, what a lot of Wump creators probably feel is like, within the Wump community, you may be considered big, but then if you go on, like, I don't know, like artists on Tumblr or something like that, the quote-unquote normie sections, like, you're not getting that attention. But yeah, I think I mostly agree with what you said. To me, I feel like statistics are probably the only way that you can label small and big, just because it's such a subjective thing in itself. I mean, you could compare creators and say this one's smaller, this one's bigger based on statistics. Are you crying?
She is.
But you know, but speaking objectively, I think it mostly comes down to that, like how renowned they are. Like, is not to say like, is this a household brand, but like, is this a household name? You know, is this someone that you could say their name and a lot of people know who you're talking about? And then of course, when I talk about statistics, that would be like the notes, which is what you were talking about. Like, how many notes does it get? How many likes, reblogs, replies, like asks that you're being sent in, whatever. So I think that is probably...
Peggy.
Oh my goodness, baby. What? I think that's the only way that you can really decide who's small and who's big. But it also, I mean, it gets a little wonky because I've noticed with some creators, like, you could be a small creator, but then you have a post that's a big hit that goes viral. And, you know, that may change the level of engagement. It could either get you more publicity, which then results in more engagement with your content, or it just gets you that short-lived, 15 minutes of fame, and then nobody cares.
Yeah.
So it really depends.
I know so probably shocker to anyone listening, or maybe not, I don't know, but I consider myself a smaller creator. I know I had that situation happen with Pick Your Poison.
Yeah.
Where it got a lot of attention really quickly, and it got to a point where, so since I'm a smaller creator, I'm like, oh, people really like this and it's getting engagement, let me really drive itself, like, hit home with it. That's why for a while I was doing one a day instead of a week, and then it got longer. And I had to, like, physically stop myself because I was literally burning myself out. Because at that point, I was working over, like, the holidays at a retail job, staying up to, like, 4 a.m., getting up at 10, doing
really
that.
Shitty retail job. I'm going to give her some pets.
And then on top of that, I don't remember if it was during the holidays, but, like, even during then, I was preparing for either the trip or the surgery. I think it was the surgery that I was preparing for. So I had a lot on my brain, and I had to, like, kind of be like, no, you have to put yourself first. Even though people are enjoying it, you're enjoying it, you have to prioritize your sanity and your mental health.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is part of the reason why I haven't really had the energy to go back to it, is because it's that barrier of, I really want to do this thing, but I know that if I do this thing, it's probably going to be liked, and I don't know if I have the energy for that. Or that expectation of, I will never be able to top what I have previously done.
Yeah.
And so since I don't have an idea what I'm doing, it's not nearly going to be good enough.
Right.
And I'm going to let everybody who was interested down.
So, 2 confessions to go with that. That was kind of what happened with me and Angel on the Wall, is that, it got so much positive attention at first, like, especially, like, the first chapter, and then maybe, like, the first few chapters. But, I think for most things, it's kind of a natural cycle for the attention and the engagement to decrease over time, because it loses that novelty. You may even, like, you lose that initial interest, basically, because when something new comes out, it's like, oh my god, like, this is brand new, but then you lose that novelty, and, like, you kind of lose the people who are, like, asking questions, because, well, you've already answered so many, like, what's there left? And I know,
sorry, not to interrupt, but I know you also had a little bit of that with the pet shelter at you.
And I was going to say that one next. So, like, for Angel on the Wall, it was definitely that feeling of, like, how can I top this? Like, every chapter that I came out, I already have this problem where I feel the need to, like, one-up everything that I do. So I'm, like, challenging myself. If I post a chapter, I'm like, I need the next chapter to either be better or to be on the same level. I'm trying hard now to teach myself that not everything has to be a banger, and not everything's going to be. But that's, one of the reasons I struggled a lot with updating Angel on the Wall, is because of that, like, needing to, like, top myself, worrying that, like, I've already peaked and it's never going to be this good again. So I think that, rewriting it will be able to kind of help that mindset, because then it kind of shows me that, yeah, it can be better, but it's going to be better for me. It's going to be better in my opinion, for my enjoyment, and what I consider to be my ideal writing style now. It's not going to be better for the people who are engaging with it. Like, if they do, that's awesome. But, and then the shelter pet AU, definitely what you were talking about with it, people like it so much that you, like, force yourself to keep, keep going.
Especially with the polls, the art, the writing. Like, I was watching you do that, and I'm like, I mean, pop off, king, but also take care of yourself.
It's really hard, especially when you're like us and you have ADHD, to not get in that hyper focus mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And you're telling yourself, you're like, well, I'm having fun and I'm enjoying it, so what's the problem? But the thing is, you know, you're mostly having fun because of that engagement.
Mm-hmm.
And so if it's just dependent on that, A, when you get burned out, you're going to feel like shit.
Mm-hmm.
And B, if anything changes, then that's also going to change your attitude around it. And quite frankly, you know, with the shelter pet AU, it got old. It got old real fast. I kind of was... it seemed like that's all people want to talk about, which is totally valid. Like, if that's what you're interested, that's fine. But also, I really made the mistake of opening up roleplay for that.
Mm-hmm.
That probably burnt me out the most. And at that point, I was like, I want to move on to something else. And then, of course, the aggression. But again, like, I'm not going to get into it. It is what it is. And I don't find fault with anyone. It's just, that showed me that I am not ready to do that kind of project.
Yeah.
Because if I'm going to react that way based on those kinds of responses, I need to not do a project like that.
Yeah. Which, again, like, that maturity to, like, recognize that within yourself and putting yourself first.
Which I'm glad is what you did with Pick Your Poison. Because I love Pick Your Poison too, but I mostly care about your enjoyment and how you're enjoying it.
Yeah. Because it's like, I have all these ideas, it's just a matter of executing them.
Yeah.
Because I know for the next chapter, I really, really want to do a, like, fully nitty-gritty wump fic. Where I want your name to be hurt. I want them to, like, be in danger.
I mean, it's what we deserve at this point. Honestly.
Yeah, I've been tiptoeing around the bush. Because it's this problem of, like, again, how do I make it good? How am I going to top it afterwards?
Right.
And since it's and I've thought about this, like, I've put a lot of thought into Pick Your Poison. And I know this is diverging off topic.
No, hey, that's what we're here for.
But I always want to, like, figure out, when it comes to Wump, part of it to me is the absence of choice. Wumpy does not have a choice in what is happening to them. And since it's a choose your own adventure, it creates this problem of, well, how do I give choice without giving choice? How do I give the illusion of choice?
I think when you get to the scene where, you know, we are, like, actively being, like, hurt, I think it's really just going to be a matter of how we react.
Yeah.
Because we, at that point, like you said, we don't have a choice. Like, there is no, you know, MacGyver option. You're stuck. You're gonna get hurt.
Yeah.
Because we've been a dickbag to Berkeley. He's been a dick to us too, but he's the one in control, so.
Because, like, I've kind of, like, since he likes your name right now, he's pissed off right now. But, like, he doesn't want them dead. And that's why he's literally been, like, holding back. That's why your name has been able to get the hits in, because he's been holding his punches.
Oh, yeah.
And I really want to hit that home where, like, he's terrifying. Berkeley, in his right, is supposed to be scary. And I feel like I'm only just getting to the part of, like, him being that, like...
I think that's what makes him scarier, is that you have so much buildup. You literally, like, you know, Berkeley is fucking... Like we've talked about this before. In his design itself, those, like, pastel colors, that illusion of, like, someone friendly, someone kind... But that just makes him even scarier. I mean, especially speaking as someone who plays D&D with this man, Berkeley's fucking terrifying. And it's even more terrifying when you don't realize that at first. And even when you do start to realize it, you're like, you start to get even more scared when you realize it gets worse.
Because he's holding his punches.
Right.
You always think like you're, just as you're getting ahead and you're like, oh yeah, no, I've won, he unleashes some other monstrosity upon you.
You know, like if you're Denise, you get your arm chopped off and your heart taken out of your chest.
Heart for a heart.
God, I love your fucking eye for an eye character. So evil. He took his wing too. He's not gonna have anything left.
It'll grow back.
No, but it has. But it's grown back as the devil wing. Okay.
But anyway,
I should say demon wing, not devil. Excuse me. And not to project feelings on you, but this topic very much is a special interest of mine. I love talking about the behind the scenes of creators and their creations, and not to project like feelings onto you, but I imagine it's also a little disappointing when it's like the stuff that is geared more towards viewer participation rather than your original works gets more attention.
Because like I've seen a couple people have really, really liked Dazel, and I love that.
Yeah.
But it's so disheartening when I like post a fully fleshed out piece, or when I post about him and like his journey, and it's like you and I reblog it, and I get like 5 notes and like likes, and it's like I really appreciate that, but at the same time it's like, because I genuinely feel like Pick Your Poison is not my best work. Like, I can go on and on about how much I love the Unforgivable piece that has Dazel, where he's like having this self-doubt, and the one that actually Mill was the one that filled the prompt for pleading for Dazel at one point, which I loved that piece. And again, that Guardian Angel piece with Mibium, like that one, when they know who Mibium is, like that tends to be a fan favorite as well. Mibium surprisingly has become a fan favorite.
That doesn't surprise me one bit. Mibium is so fucking good. Comfort character for sure.
But the one that's really disheartening.
Also, he's hot.
Yeah, that's
okay.
Fair.
Sorry. All your characters are, but anyway, except Richard. Sorry.
That's he's not supposed to be.
Yeah.
He's supposed to have the charisma, but be that pathetic little meow.
He's like my Vale. Vale isn't supposed to be hot, but there are some people who find him hot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, go on.
But the one that's like not like upsetting, but the one that I'm like little like the most disappointed in is I think the only person that's like really been engaged with Half-Lies and Hidden Truths is you. And you've been there since the start.
Oh yeah.
So it's like that's my baby. That's my It's Complicated.
Yeah.
Like, I fucking love that with my heart and soul, and it's the foundation for every one of my other pieces. So it's like, I get it's not everybody's taste, but also
Yeah, it's like, and
again, this isn't a saying like, oh, you have to like go check out things like that, or you have to like every piece. It's like, no, it's people are entitled to like what they like, but also as a creator, like, this is how it feels. Not that that's anyone's fault.
Right, like we can experience these feelings without like casting blame on anyone. Like that's just
I just wanted to clarify. This isn't like a venting. This isn't me. Like, this is just this is just what it is to be a creator.
Which is, I'm glad that you talk about that, because that actually segues into the next question, how we consider someone becoming a big creator, someone gaining in popularity or publicity. Honestly,
I don't really have any opinion on this one, because I haven't really hit it big. So I wouldn't really have that context for if I do. For me, the only response I have, and I feel like it's going to come off backhanded, and it's not how I'm intending it, so I want to clarify that, is having popular mutuals.
Mm-hmm.
So since I am a smaller creator, you are a bigger creator. So a lot of the time when you reblog like my art pieces or things like that, those are the ones that get more attention
Right.
because they get reblogged by your followers and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, that's my how do you get big? By having bigger friends.
And that's totally fair. I mean, that's what you've noticed within your experience.
Yeah. And I know that sounds cynical, but
no,
like,
I'll be the first to say that is true. I do have a lot of opinions on this, and I think there is no set answer because there are way too many factors. It depends on the situation, the circumstances, the person, everything. There's way too many variables to pinpoint how someone becomes big. And that's why I've always found those kind of like guides and advice a little annoying. It's like, oh, how do you become a big creator? I mean, I remember back when I was a small creator, back when I would maybe get like 3-5 notes at best on a piece. Back then I did look at that stuff because, obviously, like, I think most small creators, even if they don't want the popularity and the fame and the attention that comes with it, they just want that love that they have for their own creations. They want that love to be reflected. But so I would see stuff like that, and I'd always be like, oh, post at a certain time, or make sure your blog is formatted so that the organization is good, and make sure you're like, self-reblogging, reposting, make sure. The one that annoyed me the most was always like, make sure you engage and interact with other creators, which, if you want to do that, that's great. But it's getting into another question, but like that sets this mindset that I've personally experienced with a lot of creators, and especially small creators, where that's the only reason they're doing it. They're only engaging with you and they're only interacting with you because they want that attention.
Yeah.
And I, for the longest time when I was a small creator, I thought that was an unspoken rule. I thought that I was supposed to find other small creators, engage with their work, because it's like, well, I want people to do that for me. I need to do it for them. But it became unhealthy. It became like, I'm obligated to do this. This is my responsibility. Mm-hmm. Even if I didn't necessarily like something, I would be, honestly, at that point, I was like straight up lying to people. Mm-hmm. And I feel bad about it. But I wanted, someone to be uplifted in a way that I wasn't. Mm-hmm. But that's sidetracking a little bit. I think, going back to what I said, those posts really annoy me because there is no specific way. Yeah. There's no silver bullet to it. However, we can discuss the different factors. Mm-hmm. The number one factor that I see discussed the most, or that I see people use the most, is luck, which I agree and disagree with. I disagree that it is the number one factor. I disagree it's the only factor. And I think, obviously, it depends on the person. Yeah. But I do think, I think it has a part in it. Because luck is one of those things where it's like, you can't explain why it happens. Mm-hmm. There may be a reason it happens, but you can't explain why. Mm-hmm. So it's just, it's the easiest thing is to call it good luck or bad luck. Mm-hmm. I can't explain why this good thing happened to me, so I got lucky. I can't explain why this bad thing happened, I got unlucky. So I do think luck is a factor. Especially when you look at, like, certain creators, and I'm not thinking of anyone specific, but if you look at certain creators where you can objectively see, like, it sounds weird to say, but you can kind of objectively see the amount of effort they put in versus, like, other creators. Yeah. And you can, especially, like, the ones that, treat their fans badly, and you can see that and you can go, like, okay, maybe someone got really lucky here. Yeah. Or maybe some strings are pulled, I don't know. But, so, there's that, and that honestly isn't going mostly for Tumblr. That's going for, like, YouTube creators I've seen, and TikTok especially. But TikTok is algorithm based, so that's a whole other playing field.
Yeah, because on Tumblr, especially luck and fate or what have you, I feel like it comes down to not necessarily luck of the draw, but luck of the draw. Mm-hmm. Where finding, like, a niche. Like, I am already a small creator, mm-hmm. but I am much larger than I was before I entered the WUMP community. Mm-hmm. Even in some of the other niches I had found, I was very small.
Oh, that's our timer. Hold on, I'm going to take a quick break. And we're back, like nothing happened.
But once I found the WUMP community, that's when I started to really flourish. Mm-hmm. And I know, like, having found a couple different niches, like, if you can find a target audience and people within that audience like your thing, mm-hmm. that's kind of the luck of the draw. Like, you get a little bigger.
That was me in fandom. I started in fandom creating fan works, mm-hmm. and that is what got the most attention. Mm-hmm. It's only, I believe when I started, I'd started role-playing on the server I had, which was a fandom server, but when I started role-playing with, one of my OCs, which was Dark Wharf, I had other OCs, like I had Logan and Derek at the time, but I wasn't sharing too much about them because I knew that no one really cared. Mm-hmm. So when I started role-playing with Dark Wharf and I started getting more involved in that, and then what really kicked things off, and, I've said it before to you, but shout out to Faye again, what really kicked off the interest in my OCs was our crossovers. Mm-hmm. People love those. And rightfully so. They were awesome. Mm. But
you put a lot of effort into them.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, technically it's not called Sunwharf anymore because Sun's now Kepri. Oh my god, if I said that wrong, I'm sorry, Faye. But that was a whole era. That was an entire era.
Oh yeah, no, I fully remember that. Yeah. I still remember I reblogged that piece, and I know I've told you this, but back when I was just starting out as a WUMP blog, I remember you doing that piece with Dark Wharf and what was Sun, and like
was it the comic where
the kid going missing?
Yeah, Moon got kidnapped.
Yeah, and I reblogged that to my WUMP blog because I'm like, this is WUMP, but it's not called WUMP, but it's called WUMP.
Yeah, that was back before I knew what WUMP was. But yeah, like that absolutely kicked things off. And I'm very grateful because, now I know, like, OCs are my passion, WUMP is my passion, but, like, I definitely don't, like, regret those beginnings or, like, doing the fan art or fan works or anything, but, oh my god, that era in particular is what made me realize, like, I love AUs. I mm-hmm. love being able to take the same characters, put them in a different universe, different story.
I still remember some of your, like, fandom AUs.
Yeah.
What was it? It was like a Cuphead AU with Dark and Wilford. I remember there was that one as well. Yeah. We don't talk about that, but yeah.
That was with, the devil. Damien? Was that his name? I think I named him Damien.
Probably.
Dude, I posted that fic on Wattpad. I tried to have a Wattpad, but it didn't.
I'm aware. Hair curling.
Yeah. I tried to do Wattpad, but I just couldn't keep up with it, especially because you have the option to do book covers, and so I felt like I had to do a cover for all of them. No, never again.
We don't talk about my Wattpad era. Anyway.
See, that's crazy to me, because I never had a Wattpad era.
I exclusively used Wattpad before I used Tumblr.
For me, it was fanfiction.net. That was my era.
See, I have never gone on fanfiction.net ever.
Really?
And I am just, within, like, the past 3 years, started going on AO3.
Wow. Yeah, no, I started with fanfiction.net, and then I moved over to AO3. I've never done Wattpad. That's so crazy. I was looking, for a while, I was, like, just out of curiosity, looking for some stuff on Wattpad. I found this, like this Darkiplier and, like, Anti-1, and I was like...
See, I was reading Dark and Anti stuff before they were canon. I still remember. And, I mean, you know this, but, like, some of my first OCs were like those fandom characters and have become like Dark became what is now Dare.
Peggy, why are you crying out there? Come in here. Peggy baby. Come on, honey. Yes, hello. Let me give you some attention.
Like,
Hi.
yeah, and like, I know, D ended up becoming D.
Yeah.
And Ed ended up becoming Ian. So,
D ended up becoming D?
yes. D, spelled the same way, was another version of Dark that was like Dark's brother.
Oh, okay.
And
gotcha.
so now became, who was Dawn, now going by D.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think Peggy's gonna sniff the microphone again. You guys can probably hear her tail under the table. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that really drew me to the Egos was just people were so creative with so little.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was crazy.
I mean, it's, I mean, full disclosure, like I've told you, there are some things from your fics and like your artwork that inspired literal cores of my lore. Like Shadow Demons were entirely inspired by like one or two pieces of your artwork.
Oh, was it the Darkiplier with like his like shadows? Because I listen, I'm not gonna take credit for that idea. I'm sure I saw that somewhere, but I thought it was so cool because it fed into my interests and what I like. For multiple reasons.
Look, same here. We don't talk about it.
And shadow tendrils. Ooh.
Look, we don't gotta talk about it.
But yeah, that was such a wild time. But getting back to the question itself, I would say that luck is often a factor. But I would also say that another factor that again does not apply to everyone, but you know that people don't really talk about or really want to accept for some small creators is time. Like it takes a lot of time sometimes.
Yeah.
And especially like again, doesn't apply to everyone. I know you've been in the community for like years, longer than I have, but I think you know, it like if I'm pairing up our timelines correct, I have been more like active and like post like dude, I post fucking so many things.
Oh yeah.
But I've been more active in posting and engaging in fandom to start. And that is spread across multiple fandoms, getting to this point now.
Yeah.
And I do think that I have also had way more time to improve my art and like writing. So objectively, like there's a longer timeline there.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, I think a lot of creators don't want to accept that sometimes it just takes time. I think a lot of times, and I'm speaking as someone who looks at small creators and just doesn't like, I don't necessarily like their work, but that's because they're not at that point in their journey yet, whether it's art, writing, whatever. They're not at that point in their journey where they've found their style, where they've gotten to a point where they can like their own work. I think that's probably one of the biggest things. I hated my work for the longest time. And I think it's only when I got to a point where I actually started to like it is when other people also were liking it.
Yeah. And 100% agree, because I know that's where I am now. I know, especially with my artwork.
Yeah.
I can look at it and be proud of it.
Yeah.
Like, that is my artwork. I used to never even sign it because I didn't care if it got stolen because I didn't like it.
I still don't sign mine. I've tried to sign a few times, but I just always forget, and I don't like how it looks.
I just have like a stamp I made.
Yeah, you're smart about it.
I think you wanted me to show you that how to do that at some point. Maybe
No,
someday.
Maybe someday. If I ever actually, if I get to a point where I feel like I need to. Because now that I'm just doing OC stuff, I'm like, this isn't going to end up on Pinterest, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Maybe. Knock on wood.
Knock on wood. Uh-oh. You got Peggy's attention. But yeah, I would say like that's definitely a factor. And then I do think that kind of going back to what you said about who you're friends with, who you're interacting with, I think that can also definitely play a part. Because, you know, it just makes sense.
Sorry, yawning.
Yeah. But it makes sense that, you know, if you are engaging and interacting with bigger creators, and not in the sense of, you know, that's the only reason why, but if you're friends with them. I was personal friends. I know I was friends with a really big creator, not like in the Atla fandom, but in the Jetco fandom. Because, like, each ship kind of had its own niche. And this was a really big creator for Jetco that, you know, like, it inspired me and boosted all of my Jetco works. Because we were friends. Like, he really loved my stuff. I loved his. I may have sent him $500 at one point, but we don't talk about that.
We don't talk about that. We don't talk about that.
Yeah, that is Emmett makes bad mistakes because he's a people pleaser. but yeah, I definitely agree that that's a factor as well. And again, I do think that it depends on the type of content and the community. There are some communities, dude, you'd be like, well, you wouldn't be surprised, but there are some communities that are so niche that whenever someone does post something, everyone's grabbing it. Everyone's like, give me these crumbs.
I know the whole reason you were Dark Wharf was because that's what you knew the ship as before it was Wharf Stash.
I literally...
Dark Stash, that's what it was.
Like, okay, I don't want to say I pioneered the ship. But if we're looking at it objectively, when I joined, there were maybe like, I think there were maybe 20 posts in the tag total. A lot of them were like headcanon ones. There was a minimal amount of artwork, barely any fanfic. And of course, it was a ship that I latched onto. So I was like, okay, I'm going to take this canoe and we're going to make it a fucking cruise ship. Like I was, you know, I didn't intentionally do it, but I just loved it so much. I just kept producing that content. So I think, you know, like that's actually a great point. Looking at it from the angle of if you're making content, for example, a ship that is like considered a rare ship or doesn't have a lot of content, people are gonna fucking eat that up. Rightfully so. I would. But
I mean, again, that's how I found you.
Yeah.
Like I was scrolling through the Dark Stash / Dark Wharf tags, and that's how I found Emmett.
Yeah, and like it's definitely, you know, I say this and I don't mean any shade to fan work people. If you create fan works, that's awesome. And I've seen the best fan works. Just, you know, like so much effort and love put into them. So no shade there. But I definitely have observed, you know, and I think people have said this as well, that it's a lot easier to get that attention and get that publicity doing fan stuff because everyone already knows it. You basically, you already have a community made for you. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to switch over to original work is because to me personally, I'm not saying this is objective, I felt like that was the only reason people like my stuff. I felt like I was relying on the fact that it was a fan work. And I didn't feel right about that.
I just remembered I actually have a story to go along to agree with you. Because the only fic I have ever finished was for the JSE Egos for a rare pair for one person that kind of got attention.
Was that the one with Jackie Boy?
No. That was a one-off. Oh, that was the color red.
Oh, yeah. I'm thinking like red something.
Yeah, no. This was entirely before you. It was either before you.
Before me?
It was either before you or it was going on separately.
Before Emmett.
B.E. But it was a fic I wrote It's the second longest thing I have ever written. Pick Your Poison has now surpassed it.
Hey!
And I believe the next closest was the Berktavian.
Yeah!
With quote-unquote One Piece.
The spicy one.
But I'm not going to talk about it because it is still out there. And it is posted on AO3, but I recently orphaned the fic because I did not want it attached to my name.
Dude.
It's so bad.
That's honestly way better than me because I still have all my shit on AO3. Dude, maybe like once a week, I still get kudos on Sex Club and Make Me Strong, which were both fics for the Bungo Stray Dogs fandom, and there was the rare pair of Atsushi and Morai. I don't know how to fucking say his name anymore. But
I believe I don't remember the pair. I believe the pair was like a Yonder Schneepelstein with Marvin.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
I know
was
a lot
fucked
of people.
up.
What was the popular one with Schneepelstein? Was that Marvin or was it someone else? They're the popular one.
Oh yeah, the Jackie and Marvin is.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the really popular one.
Okay, gotcha. I dabbled in Jacksepticeyeagos.
Yeah, I was big into both.
Yeah. Mark was always my favorite.
But I don't even think I follow this person anymore. But like, I was reading her stuff, and she seemed really interested in like that pair. And I
just realized I have been leaning away from the mic, so it probably very, very quiet.
But I like was doing it specifically for this one person because she was the only one giving me attention. And actually, no, this wasn't pre-Emmett, but no. This was at that point where you and I were taking that break from each other, like unintentionally. I realized I was like, quote unquote.
It was BBJE, break between JJ and Emmett.
But it was during that time where
that sounds like a complicated sex move. Hey baby, you want a BBJE? Sorry.
No, you're good. But because I remember I was talking with somebody who was in that server. Won't mention them. But they were also interested in it, but didn't want to read it. They were encouraging to me because it was Wump.
When you say that server, do you mean the Anon House?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wasn't sure if you wanted. Yeah.
Oh, Adam. Nobody's getting in that server, by the way.
Yeah.
It's closed. It's dead.
But yeah, somebody from there. But it was Wump, so they didn't want to read it. But it was Wump before I knew what Wump was.
Yeah.
And I believe it's still out there on my old writing blog, and somewhere on AO3.
Okay. So, sorry, I was listening, but then I had the thought of like, ooh, this is where I should put the key phrase because I don't want it to be at the end all the time. I want it to be like sprinkled in the middle. So, real quick, if you have listened this far, congratulations. Make sure you comment BBJE, and you will get a free doodle from me. I already gave 2 doodles to the last people who commented. So. But yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I totally get that.
Yeah.
Like with that niche and like wanting that attention from like 1 or 2 certain people for like that rare pair. And I will say, like, if anybody wants to know, I'm not telling you. I will take that to my grave.
Can I know?
I think I showed it to you at one point, but yeah, you can know.
I probably forgot.
Probably.
Also, Peggy has decided to add her own sound effects to this podcast because she's scratching herself and her collar is jingling. Oh, big yawn. Yawning. Big yawn. Okay, I was gonna say something else, and then like the last thing about the factors. They're just like, let's be honest. There are some communities that are a lot better about engaging with other creators and especially small creators. than other communities.
Yeah.
And there are some communities that tend to have a bit more discourse and like toxicity that kind of prevents, you know, those creators from getting big, or they get big for the wrong reasons.
Yeah. I know the Wump community is one that, in my experience, tiptoes the line between being that discourse frenzy and lifting everyone it can up.
Let me tell you, I was in the Marvel fandom.
Sounds like I opened Pandora's box.
Yeah, well, no, but I agree in that I've only had positive experiences with the Wump community for the most part. There have been a few anons here and there, but it's like, whatever, you don't represent the community. And then, of course, me realizing that I am into, like, not safe for Wump, I am into it as, like, a kink. I mean, not for me personally, but, like, you know. That has also been a experience. But again, that is one that has been like very supported and that I felt very safe in doing. The Marvel fandom, however,
having been in the Marvel fandom,
here's the thing, I was only in it for one fucking character, Loki. Like that.
No, yeah, I know. Between Loki and Frost Iron as a ship.
Yeah, and I love Frost Iron, like because.
I was forced into Frost Iron, so I've seen all sides of the fandom.
Yeah, but like, you know, I'm that kind of person where if I have a favorite, I just like ship them with everyone. I mean, come on, we've seen Logan.
Yeah,
we've seen Drake.
we have the AU now, the catfish AU. We've seen Logan.
But no, in the Marvel fandom, being specifically on the Loki side of it, toxic as fuck. Not even going into the Thorky, because I don't want to go there this episode. It'll take forever. But not even going into that, just the fact that I was deemed like a Loki apologist because I was a fan of a villain that in a lot of people's eyes was irredeemable. I had a mutual, and I remember, I know their username, but I'm not going to say it. I had a mutual make a post comparing Loki, my comfort character, my quote-unquote sin path, which is how I identified with him at the time, to Donald Trump. And that literally, like, it fucked me up so much, I forced myself to stop liking him for a long time. Yeah. I was like, it was basically like a cringe culture thing, but in a moral purity sense. It was purity culture saying, you can't like this villain, he's done too many bad things, stop, you know, if you are gonna like him, you need all this disclaimers about recognizing his behavior and not condoning. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Shut up. But yeah, so I would say those are the factors, if I were to sum it up, is luck, what community you're in, how, like, you know, rare or niche the content is, time, and, like, quality. You know, quality. Yeah, like, basically, like, where you are on your journey of creation. Like, if you're not at a point where you like your own work, I'd say it's probably going to be really hard for other people like it, too. Not because...
Sorry. Yeah. You finish what you're saying, because I have an addendum to that as well.
Not because any, like, you know, like attracts like or anything like that, but it just objectively, if you don't like it, it's probably just not at the point where a majority of other people are going to like it as well.
Adding on to that, as somebody who used to do this, also, if you post everything with, I know this sucks, but, or, I'm sorry this is so bad, I'm sorry this isn't great, or like, I'm sorry this is unedited, or things like that, that self-deprecation, that is going to absolutely kill it. Like, full stop. As somebody who used to do that, don't. Your thing, whatever you're posting, you are literally killing it in the water as soon as you open your mouth with that.
I'm awkwardly touching JJ Soldier because I got, not Soldier.
Soldier.
Shoulder! Because I got so excited, you just segued into the next question.
Okay.
You're so good at the segues, man. But yeah,
full disclosure, I'm not even looking at the questions, by the way.
Just so good. But that is the next topic on here is talking about the mindsets of small and big creators that we've noticed. And absolutely the self-deprecation, if there's...
Sorry, I was just going to say, there's literally an artist I unfollowed because I really liked their art. I don't remember pronouns, but I really, really liked their art. But they did this thing, and this is when I unfollowed them, where they had posted this really cool piece of artwork that was like, if this doesn't get enough likes, I'm just going to delete it because it means nobody cares. Yeah, it's like, I felt obligated to reblog it because it was so cool, but I didn't like that add-on, and I think it did end up getting deleted. And I unfollowed them because I don't have the time for that.
I don't think... I can't speak for everyone, but I don't think most people like being guilt-tripped. And quite frankly, I don't think you want engagement with your content to depend on guilt-tripping. If that's the only reason that someone engages, like, you're not going to get the following you want like that. But yeah, that definitely goes into the next topic here. That is a really unhealthy mindset. It's an understandable one because, you know, especially when you're a small creator, you're thinking like, well, and it
must be my fault and my quality that it's not getting the attention.
And also, speaking personally, when I was a small creator, I had this mindset that was, you know, like, dude, I was on DeviantArt for a long time. So there's also that toxic mindsets that you get from DeviantArt. Just saying from my personal experience, I literally had a dude comment on my journal entry, you know, why don't you just take it to Twitter if you want to talk about yourself? Anyway, a bunch of toxicity when it comes to like, you're being an attention whore or you're being too full of yourself. Stop bragging, stop boasting. So I think, you know, a lot of small creators fall into that pit trap of, well, my work is already not as great as these other works. I can't possibly put it on the same level. I have to bring it down. Otherwise people are going to think I'm conceited. Or people are gonna think that I don't realize it's crappy, and they're just gonna hate it even more.
Yeah.
And it's no. It's such a pitfall. It's like,
even if you can't believe it's quality or you don't see the value in it, even though it's your work, fucking fake it till you make it, man.
Yeah, I mean,
like, I don't know how else to say.
Yeah,
it, like yeah.
You don't have to be like boasting or bragging about it or anything, but like, you know, just if you could avoid making comments like that, or if you could even like change your language to be more of like acknowledging your accomplishments in a piece. Like I love it when I see a piece and someone talks about like, not in the guilt trippy sense of like, I worked so hard, so please like it and reblog it. Like in the sense of like, I really like how this piece came out. I love how I did this specific detail. Nothing attracts me more than seeing that.
I was about to say something I've started doing is changing the language. So, for example, there was a piece I posted recently. I believe it was a prompt from you or something. And it had been sitting in my ask box for a while, and I felt really guilty. So I said, I'm sorry this took so long. Which, yeah, but that can sort of toe the line. But I followed it up with, whereas I would normally, or what I used to do was like, I know this isn't the best, or things like that. I put, I had a lot of fun with this. Yeah. This was a really cool idea. And just left out like, oh, maybe it's not my best quality, or it's not my best work, or I rushed on it. It's just, I had a lot of fun with this. Yeah. Or I thought this idea was really cool. Or things along that line. Rather than things you don't like, mention what you do like about it.
Yes, that sums it up perfectly, because there are so many people, like, listen, people who are as passionate like us about our work, and I'm saying this for, you know, pretty much most creators out there, we're passionate about our work. If you're passionate about yours, then that is an attractive thing. Like, if I see that you're passionate, I'm like, that is infinitely more compelling than if you're shitting all over it. And just to kind of go with your comment of pointing out the specific things of what you like about a piece, or maybe I said that, I don't know, that also is a great way to steer the conversation of feedback. If I see someone pointing out specific things on a piece they like, I can go, I agree with you. I really like how you did that thing. And I like how you did this other thing. That can really help steer the conversation and get that engagement. And everything I say here is not like a foolproof, like, oh, if I do this, it's going to happen. Yeah. No. But, you know, that's just me speaking personally. Also, you good?
Yeah. Kelly texted the group chat, so.
Oh, what'd she say?
She asked us to bring her package in.
Oh,
so I let her know we already did.
Yeah, we did. Painstakingly, but yeah. So yeah, definitely I would say the self-deprecation, but also this is going to be a little bit of a hot take. Desperation is not attractive. Like, I'm sure there are some people who disagree, and you know, it sounds like a bitchy thing to say, but this kind of goes into the same thing, but I think desperation is a little different in that it's not necessarily self-deprecating, it's not necessarily guilt-tripping. It's showing that, you know, this is the only thing that you care about. And like, speaking from personal experience, if I get the feeling that someone is desperate for that engagement or attention, whatever you want to call it, I have had too many experiences with people like that. If that is all you care about, you don't care about my work. You don't care about me as a person with feelings. And, you know, things are probably going to go wrong.
And we can tell when it's just you caring about your things and not about us or our work or... Yeah.
Yeah, it's... I know that's a hard thing to hear because, you know, for, like, there are so many of us who struggle with those thoughts of, like, oh, well, they must think that, you know, I'm faking it, or that I only, you know, care about getting my stuff out there and I don't care about their stuff. And I can totally understand that. Like, I know when I interact with people, I often worry about how I'm coming across, and if I'm coming across as, well, I just care about my own stuff and I don't care about yours. And, like, I mean, sometimes, yeah. Like, I'm not going to talk about my stuff if that's the case. I only talk about my stuff if I'm prompted. That's pretty much my general rule of thumb now. I don't like to go to people unprompted and just, you know, talk about my stuff. That's why I like posting. I very much usually prefer posting on my blog to direct interaction, because then I can just post it and whoever wants to read it can read it. Yeah. And whoever doesn't. But getting back to what I was saying, like, it's a little obvious. Like, it's obvious. You can tell when someone's desperate, I feel, in most situations.
Yeah. And going to a little bit back to what you said, like, clarifying, like, it is not necessarily obvious, but, like, we can tell. And if you're somebody who's genuinely, like, interested in talking or having that conversation or engaging, we can also tell that. A lot of the time we've gotten very, very good at telling when somebody's being genuine or not. So for anybody who does struggle with that social anxiety, we can tell you're being genuine too.
And I think, you know, like, because when we say we're just talking about us too. Obviously, we can't talk to anyone else. I know I'm kind of making, like, broad brush statements here, but this is all, like, you know, personal. I do think that there are other people who kind of agree with this, but basically, like, the way I see it is, even if I thought that someone wasn't being genuine, I'm at a point where I can just kind of ask. Yeah. You know? Like, hey, do you actually like it? Because, I don't know, man. It feels like such a bitchy thing to say, but I've had so many different, like, tactics tried on me. I mean,
I remember them.
Everything from people blatantly asking me for shout outs and, you know, for, like, reblogging their stuff, to people who they'll say that, oh yeah, I mean, like, I would love to hear about, like, you know, your characters and all that. But, you know, it ends up being a one-sided conversation, because I'm listening to you talk and I'm, you know, trying to engage as best as I can to what I'm interested in. And then when I do the same, it's like crickets, you know, like, So
that's why I love having conversations with you about the two of our OCs, because we bounce back off of each other.
Right. It's like, it's totally different. And I know it sounds like a bitchy thing to say, and hey, feel free to disagree. But I definitely can say, like, for me personally, when I am looking at other people's work and when other people are sharing their work or interacting with me or whatever, if I get the sense that and again, like, it's weird to say, like, oh, well, the only thing you want is attention. Like, well, yeah, duh. I mean, you're another creator. Like, what, you don't want to be, like, friends with me or anything. That's fine. But it's hard to describe.
It's false hope. It's that if that's what you want, be upfront about it.
Right, yeah, like, that, there you go.
Mm-hmm. Don't tiptoe around, like, oh, yeah, I want to be your friend, but this actually is what I want. But if you want to be my friend or, like, want to engage with me as a person, not just as a creator, tell me. And if you don't, tell me.
Thank you. Yeah, that sums up my very wordy ramble, is just, I want honesty. I've, and you know this, but I've had that happen so many times where someone is pretending like they want to be friends, pretending like they are interested in my stuff. It's totally fine if you don't. If you just want to go to me and be like, hey, can you review or critique or look at this piece I did? You and pretty much everyone else that interacts with me can say, I'll either say, yeah, absolutely, which is what I usually say, or, you know, sorry, like, for this specific reason, I don't feel like doing that. But either way, we're being honest. You're not giving me that, like you said, that false hope or those false expectations. So, yeah, I would say that definitely is what it comes down to. And I think that the desperation that I'm talking about, that's just kind of like a red flag to me at this point, is what I perceive as desperation. I don't want to speak objectively because I'm worried that, like, people are listening and they're like, oh shit, maybe, like, I come across as desperate.
That's why I wanted to put that disclaimer in there that, like, this is just how we feel, but also, like, we also deal with that social anxiety. We have those intrusive thoughts. So, like, if you do struggle with that, or you do have that reaction of, like, oh shit, I do that, chances are we're not talking about you. Because the people who don't have that self-awareness. Yeah. So if you're having that awareness, like, chances are we're not talking about you.
Unlike some people, but anyway. Dude, I'm sorry, but I could really go on with this. All right, so that was definitely, the self-deprecating is definitely a big mindset of small creators that I think is, let me not lean away from, like, ultimately unhealthy and unconducive. Is that a word? Unconducive? Unconductive?
I want to say inconclusive, but that's not the right word.
Look, because when you, like, conductive to something, but I don't know.
I would say inconducive rather than unconducive.
Maybe
but
it is.
Not sure.
Anyway, it's not going to accomplish the goal that you're set out to accomplish, probably. And then, you know, this is not going to be me shitting on small creators, okay?
Yeah.
But I have plenty of things to say about the creators too. But another mindset of small creators that I've personally noticed is when you blame bigger creators for the fact that you're small. Which, again, hot take, but you know, I don't think someone should blame themselves. I absolutely don't think that. I think you kind of just need to, like, acknowledge that there's a lot of factors at play and they're not your fault. You know, if there are things you want to do differently or improve on, like if improving your art or writing, that's great. But it's not a matter of fault or blame. And it really annoys me when, you know, there are creators who will just be bitter with bigger creators because they're bigger.
Yeah. Like, going back to the last question, we just went over that, like, it's it's a gamble. Like, there's so many different factors. There's so many different reasons. And I know being bitter and like well, that must be the reason. It feels good to point fingers. It feels good to point fingers away from yourself, or even if like that's not it, it's just it feels good to have a reason so you're not spiraling into that self-conscious of what if it is me? Yeah. Because again, I've been there. I still consider myself a fairly small creator.
Yeah.
So I've 100% been there.
Yeah, and like I remember my small creator days very well. I don't. It's hard to call myself a big creator because I know there are way bigger ones than me. Mm. But like, if we're going to use the small and big differentiations, I'm just going to say big. Mm-hmm. Even though I'm probably like smaller, big in the grand
That's
scale.
why I'm like small and then bigger.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I definitely, I agree with that. And I think it's totally valid to be upset and disappointed and frustrated with, you know, lack of attention, engagement, whatever, compared to other creators that you're seeing getting the attention and engagement you want. I definitely think that's valid, and I'm not trying to tell anyone, like, you know, not to feel that way. But I can also say personally, like, you know, I had one friend who would vent about that on their blog. And it's like every single time I read those posts, because I mean, it showed up on my dash, they're not tagged, there's really no way to block them. Mm-hmm. But whenever they'd show up, and even whenever they would like talk about it to me directly, mm-hmm. It's like, so you are getting like me, basically me posting and like, you know, showing my creations to people, and frankly me being really happy that I do get the responses I get. That is like you know, that's upsetting to someone, that's literally hurting someone.
Yeah.
And that, it's still, you know, it's still something I'm like, I try not to let it get to me, because you just kind of have to accept that it is what it is and people are going to feel how they feel. But, you know, I've seen certain comments that are just like, not directed at me, but are directed at other creators that are just like, really like spiteful for that specific reason. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, but remember, like, that's a person. Yeah. And I want to delve into parasocial relationships a little bit, because that's another special interest for me, but that's a person. Like, just because someone, you know, gets bigger, quote unquote,
they don't stop being people.
Right.
And that also goes for like faults. Like, somebody who's bigger doesn't necessarily also stop being a person just because they're bigger. Every human being has their faults and flaws. Right. They have their polishes and performance, but their faults and flaws.
And that's going to go into the mindsets of big creators. Because I think most people can probably agree with this, when it goes to your head. Mm-hmm. I think, I know, you know, so many people worry about this, like, especially small creators, like, I don't want to get conceited, I don't want to come off as, like, you know, arrogant or anything. And I'm not going to say that, you know, arrogance is the worst thing ever. However, I'm specifically talking about big creators who let it get to their head and they forget who made them big. Mm-hmm. Like, if there's one thing I can't stand, it's creators who mistreat their fans.
Yeah.
Just straight up. Which, you know, I haven't really seen this on Tumblr. I usually see it on, like, YouTube and TikTok. Mm-hmm. But, you know, it's just, like, I'm not going to say, like, you know, be humble, but, like, remember where you came from. Remember your roots. You know, I definitely support, like, enforcing boundaries and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But, like, you know, just don't think you can be an asshole because you know there's going to be those white knights that support you. Yeah. Or because you know that because you're such a big creator, it's going to be a blip on the radar, lost in the wind. Mm. Or because you can, you know, try to make like a smear campaign against that person, and because you're a big creator like everyone. And I know there's probably like there are people who would say that I did that to the person who made a call out post about me, and think whatever you want, but I never used their name. I never tried to make a call out post about them. I never tried to publicly out them. And I know I'm not going to get into it. It's still really fresh.
Yeah. So. And it's understandable.
Yeah. But, yeah, that would, I bring that up because I always try to look at things from both sides. It's weird because I struggle with theory of mind, where it's hard for me to imagine people thinking different than me, which is why I can acknowledge sometimes I will react a certain way because someone says something or does something that isn't the way I would say or do it, and it doesn't line up with that, belief.
And I know, like, IRL outside Tumblr, like, we've had this. And
yeah.
I know even with something like that, you have found ways to counteract that. Like, you will occasionally come to me and be like, how does this sound to you?
Yeah.
Or like, how does this perceive? Like, what is your perception of this?
Yeah. Getting a second opinion that I know is going to be objective and unbiased for the most part is very helpful. Because you'll tell me how it is. I mean, you've disagreed before. But, what was I saying? Shit, I lost my train of thought.
Theory of mind.
Right. Thank you. Despite struggling with that, I always try to get myself to see the other side. So when that happened, I did look at myself and I wondered, am I abusing this power as a bigger creator? I'm objectively bigger than that person, like objectively. But am I abusing that power? Am I, are people just agreeing with me and supporting me because I am a, bigger creator and stuff like that? And I do think that no, the answer is no. But I think it's good to at least be able to ask yourself those questions and kind of like, check yourself. Like, am I the asshole, basically?
Yeah.
AITA. But yeah, so I would say those are definitely some mindsets that are unhealthy. I feel bad because I listed more for small creators, but
well, again, you returning to those roots. Like, you have gone from a small creator to a big creator, and so you have shifted what you already had as a mindset to now what's a new mindset that you still don't fully identify with. Because I know mentally you're like, you don't necessarily consider yourself a big creator, but you're definitely bigger, so you still have a lot of the smaller creator mindsets.
I'm like in that weird middle.
Yeah.
It's like, story of my life. But yeah, I guess I just do want to acknowledge that, the unfortunate reality is that I've had way more bad experiences of small creators, and while that definitely I don't hate small creators, but I think that I have more caution around them because of those experiences.
Yeah.
Which, sucks, but healing. Yeah. Trying. Okay. So we're definitely hitting the 2-hour mark here. I have only one more thing on this list.
Okay. Which
is kind of going back to the Anon's comment, is if we feel like small and big creators, I'm going to say specifically big creators, have any responsibilities or obligations that they need to fulfill.
For me, like, both of them, to varying degrees, specifically on Tumblr, tagging things. Specifically, so for a smaller blog, and I'm going to specifically use, like, Wump community for examples, because I know that can be a little tough when you're getting into it. I know you and I Like, when you were first getting involved with the WUMP community, you came to me and were like,
Yeah.
how should I tag this?
Please, I need to know the tags.
But specifically for small creators, I feel there is a difference, I feel. With small creators tagging, like, a talk tag, a content tag, and, like, any, like, relevant tags. Mm-hmm. Even if it's not something that, like, you want in, like, the main tags or, like, somebody to go searching for. It's in case somebody has this blocked. Mm-hmm. In case you have somebody on your blog that likes one content but not another. Mm-hmm. Like, I followed this person for a while. I really, really love their art. But Assassin's Creed is a trigger for me. Mm-hmm. And they did a lot of Assassin's Creed art. Mm-hmm. So every time they didn't tag it, I ended up having to unfollow because I couldn't block that tag.
Which is unfortunate. I will say that I don't agree with it being a responsibility.
Not necessarily a responsibility.
There's our timer. We'll be right back. And we're back.
Okay. But more so like an obligation. I feel like it's more so for bigger blogs. But even still with smaller blogs.
I see, and again, I don't agree that it should be an obligation. I think that tagging, like, trigger specifically is a courtesy. Mm-hmm. But I'm of the belief that tagging is a individual thing. It's unfortunate.
Well, I'm not necessarily saying, like, I had asked them to tag it. I'm more so thinking, like... And see, for those of you listening, we do disagree on things. We're not always one-to-one agreement. So,
yeah.
But, like... Oh, there's Kelly.
Oh, Kelly's on.
Let's pause?
Yeah, I'll pause the recording. There we go. Okay.
Okay. Where did I leave off?
You were saying... you were saying, like, yeah, we disagree, but then you were also saying that you hadn't specifically asked them to tag it.
Oh, yeah. So I feel it's more so a courtesy.
No, yeah, I would say it's a courtesy for sure.
But still one that should typically be extended. Like, as kind of that Tumblr etiquette. I know, and I will say as somebody who I didn't tag things for a long, long time, because I exclusively used mobile. Mm-hmm. I didn't know how to tag things at all. Mm-hmm. I didn't figure that out for a long time, that I could just fucking press enter or the comma.
And now they keep yelling at you to add tags. It's like you try to add something out of tags. It's like, are you sure? Are you sure you want to post that without tags? You'll get more attention with tags. I'm like, yes!
But I feel like it's just a part of, like, that Tumblr etiquette. Like, even smaller blogs and bigger blogs, just, it feels like that common courtesy type thing.
See, I don't tag fandoms, like, at all. I
don't necessarily, sorry, I know I keep interrupting. I'm sorry. I don't necessarily mean specifics, but things like, for example, if somebody's doing an art of a fandom type thing, maybe tagging with that, like, fandom and, like,
yeah, no, I'm straight up saying I don't do that. Okay. I don't differentiate between fandom, fan art, fanfic, whatever. I just have a general others art, others writing. Okay. Because I do that personally because I think it should be known that this is not my art, this is not my writing, this is someone else's. But I no longer put that time and effort that can sometimes be frustrating into trying to look up, oh, what is this or what is that? I believe that the only thing that I would expect to be tagged is not safe for work, and honestly, like, that's pretty much it. I am very much of the more, I guess I want to call it, like, laissez-faire, that your blog is your blog. You're going to tag things how you tag things. If someone asks you to tag something, like if someone were to ask me to tag Assassin's Creed, I'd be like, okay, I'll start tagging it. Mm-hmm. But I think, you know, aside from if you are specifically asked to tag something, the nice thing is tag it. Your blog is your blog. You can tag whoever you want. I've seen a lot of people, they don't use word tags. They use emoji tags. They use personal tags. It's like, okay, you do you. And if I don't like it, it's unfortunate if you do like the content and you have to unfollow for that reason, but that is the choice they're making, and that's the choice you're making.
Yeah. And I'm not necessarily condemning anybody who doesn't. It's just that's my personal opinion.
Yeah,
I mean, that's how I personally tag things. Like on my main blog, on my Want blog, I have like Nightingale Sings, Nightingale Draws, Nightingale Writes. Those are my 3 personal tags. And then I also have the like my OCs, and then I have the divisions between either the OC and then the vibes and the different emoji tags for different system. And then on Wump I have fan art, like fandom Wump art, things like that. So I try and keep it very specific so that in case somebody does need something censored or needs to have it blocked, they have that option. And I always put in like my content warnings up above that if somebody does need something tagged, to let me know. Yeah. Because I try and tag, but also again, I'm a smaller blog. I'm just gonna put what I think is relevant.
Yeah, you know, I actually had someone, because I try to be very mindful of tagging, just me personally. I will tell people like, hey, I'm going to be using this tag. If you want to block it, feel free. I had someone ask what asked to tag meant, because they thought it meant they needed to ask me how to tag their reblog, which I never even considered. I'm like, oh no, it just means like if you need this thing tagged because it's a trigger or something, like let me know. But that was wild to me. I never considered that. But yeah, so I want to say that for big creators, I feel, I mean, it depends on the thing, but I think with big creators, especially, I think this goes for both big and small. But I think you are obligated to respect people's privacy to the best of your ability. I don't like it when I see, not even necessarily a call out post, an exchange that could have entirely been private is now public, and now if you didn't block out any names or anything like that, that person is going to get a lot of hate. It doesn't matter how many times you say don't send hate or whatever, you know people are going to. That is one of the, I feel that's one of the risks of being a big creator is you're not going to be able to control your audience. I mean, you can't control people regardless, but if the bigger your audience is, the more likely it is for you to have those people who are going to attack that person for whatever they did. So that's kind of my personal thing is like, especially if you're a bigger creator, you really, really need to be careful to respect people's privacy to the best of your ability. I understand sometimes the only option is to go public in certain cases. Yeah. And even then, you know, it's like, like we used to say, like, don't name drop people. I don't know if anyone says name drop still, but we always said, don't name drop. Block out the names, block out the icon, you know. Yeah. Don't tag them, like. But, yeah, so I would say that's my main thing.
I know, kind of going off that, also along with the parasocial, like, common courtesy extended to both creators. Like, I know for, I'm trying to think of the wording, but, like, if you're a creator out there, there's that level of comfortability, like, some creators have. Like, I know you're very comfortable posting about yourself and whatnot, which isn't wrong. Yeah. But I know a lot of times people will latch onto that and have that comfortability and like that parasocial relationship. Yeah. And so kind of that obligation as a creator is to like kind of keep that distance. Not necessarily keep the distance, that's the wrong phrasing, but like
it's like
maintain the healthy boundaries.
if you know the relationship is between you as a creator and someone as I'm just going to use the term fan, then yes, I 100% agree. You know, there needs to be some distance there.
Mm-hmm.
If you know that the relationship is now you as a person to person becoming friends with somebody, that's different.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
yeah.
The difference between creator and consumer, and then person to person.
Yeah.
Person to person, maintain whatever boundaries you need to as a person. But as like a creator, make sure you're maintaining your boundaries as a creator to a consumer.
And that's a hard lesson to learn. I'm gonna say that right now.
But that's part of the reason why, like, I'll be very open. Like, I've worked retail. I do this, that, and the other thing. I very open about some of the stuff, but I'm like vague about it.
Yeah. Because
I myself, believe it or not, as much as I overshare, I'm actually a very private person.
Yeah. No, I know.
So when like I as a creator like put out there, or like I put out there that like there's a lot of like projection onto my OCs, I try and keep it as vague as possible. Like earlier where I'm like, she who must not be named, person from my history that I don't like talking about. I'm not going to go into detail because that's nobody's business but somebody who is treating me as a person. As a consumer, you don't need to know my history.
Yeah, I think like that's, you know, that's why I prefer to share things, and especially like personal things on my blog versus, you know, direct interaction with people. Like, oh my God, so many people could probably say this. They're very supportive and they're very kind. And what do you? Oh, okay, she's nesting. They're very kind and they'll offer to me. They'll say like, hey, if you need to vent, you need to talk about something, I'm here for you. And I love that and I appreciate it so much. But I'm not the kind of person who can do that. I've tried to do it in the past, but you know, I've learned that either it will, like, I know it's not gonna get lashing out from those people that I care about, like friends. It's not gonna get lashing out, but it's going to make me feel like I've done something wrong when after I share, I get a response that doesn't help. Yeah. When I'm venting to other people, well, with some exceptions, like I can vent to you just fine. I can vent to Di just fine.
And even when we were still somewhat in that parasocial relationship, you were still able to like vent to me and trust and know that I was treating you as a person. Yeah. Not as consumer to creator.
Yeah. But, like, this is kind of, like, tangential a bit, but when I'm venting to someone I don't know as well as my two best friends, there is a pressure to feel a certain way in response to their reaction. I feel bad if I feel like their response has not helped me feel better because, you know, it's hard to explain, but...
No, and I feel that that goes back to what we mentioned earlier about that facade of like, if you are somebody reaching out to a creator with the expectation of this, don't reach out in this situation because crossing that line, like if you're just wanting that shout out, if you're just wanting that review, don't offer to be that shoulder to lean on because...
And I'll say right now, I'm 100% guilty of that. I remember, not for necessarily the sake of attention or exposure, because I've never done that to a big creator, but for the sake of wanting to be liked, wanting to feel better about myself because I'm validating and I'm helping someone else. I've, you know, those unhealthy relationships. Don't do it.
Yeah.
But yeah. So oh my God, I had a train of thought and then I lost it.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. We were talking about parasocial, distance, relationships, boundaries.
Don't name drop.
The sharing. Yes. Yeah. that's why my blog is a safe space for me. I feel totally comfortable sharing on there because it's basically my journal. And if I get responses, then okay. If I don't, okay. But I like to share because it helps with my healing. I have gone a long time of my life not sharing, and most of all downplaying that. I'm trying to reverse that now. I'm trying to do the opposite. And I'm not making myself feel uncomfortable or anything. I'm comfortable doing it. And I don't share everything, but yeah, I think that's definitely an important boundary to respect. And like you said, just knowing that like everyone's different, some people are more private than others. Nothing infuriates me more. Well, they do, but like one of the things that pisses me off so much is when someone thinks they can make assumptions about someone else online because of what they are being shown. Like, you do not know what's going on in that person's life. You do not know who they are as a person. You are seeing their blog content, their curated blog content from behind a screen.
You're seeing what they are presenting to you, what they are comfortable presenting to you. Sorry, exactly. I hiccuped there.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So, I think that's a good one. I'm trying to think if I had anything else for this. I think we covered everything.
Yeah.
But I love this topic. I love talking about like creators and like what they go through and like the different relationships between creator and fans. What? Why are you crying?
Peggy is mad. We've been going for a while.
People will listen to this. You think to yourself, like, there's going to be that one person who's like, oh my God, they're so mean to their dog. Like, no.
She's just a crybaby.
she's a crybaby. She cries all the time. And, I will often give her attention. Obviously, I'm, like, taking care of her, and I make sure her needs are met, and I give her attention and love and TLC. But she also needs to understand there's sometimes where the dads are busy.
Yeah. She gets mad when the two of us hug.
Yeah.
Because she's not getting the sole attention.
Right. When we hug, when we laugh together, even just when you bring your chair into the room, she's like, she comes over and she needs to, be here.
She, like, physically blocks me from sitting next to Emmett because that's her spot.
Yeah. And I get it. We don't know her past, but we know she's gone through some trauma. So I get it. But, baby needs to wait sometimes. Yeah. Needs some patience.
So I promise we're not being mean to our dog.
No, we're not being mean to our dog. We love her. She's our baby.
She is.
She's our sweet baby angel.
She's my stepdaughter.
Yeah. Your stepdaughter, my daughter. Not biologically.
She is a dog.
I want to repeat, she is a dog.
She is a fur baby.
All right, well, we've officially gone 2 hours and 16 minutes, it looks like.
Plus a little bit.
So much for keeping this short.
Yeah. Look, we ramble. Like, we're still finding our rhythm.
Yeah. Listen. We're not getting paid. It's
yeah. If you listen, you listen.
You listen. This is just for fun. But yeah, so thanks for listening all the way through if you did. Just remember, as a little reminder, comment, what was it? JJBE? No. BBJE.
Yeah.
Comment BBJE if you want a free doodle from Emmett. And yeah, that's it. You guys take care. Have a good day or night wherever you are, and peace.
Yeah.